Yeah, so it becomes the responsibility of the executor to ensure that any tax that may be due on these assets. Now, let's say, for example, if you're speaking about certain investments that you've made and the beneficiary says that all of these should be redeemed and thing. So there will be a tax implication which will be there. There will also be income tax, you can say, for that particular financial year that could be due, or any other tax. It could be GST, it could be various other things, right? So it is the responsibility of the executor. It's basically, the thing is that the government says that if there is any tax due, we will not be waiving off the tax. So who will be responsible for paying the tax? So it's not that the executor will pay the tax from their pocket, it'll be from the estate itself.
Hi, Suraj. Just want to know what about the situation if the person who's writing the will owns a business or is a partner in a business. So how
Yes.
where do you put that out in the will?
So depends on what kind of a structure is there. So for example, if it is a private limited company, then the person has shares which will come under financial assets. If you can say there is a stake in a partnership firm, then again you can mention that, okay, I have 50% stake in so and so partnership firm. If it is a sole proprietorship firm, then it is as good as the individual's asset, which can be nominated as part of this, saying that all my, you can say, because as a sole proprietorship, whatever assets that the business will own is actually the individual's asset itself.
Right. So it doesn't come within the movable or immovable. It comes as a separate clause saying that whatever equity I own in this business is being given to so and so.
So it what will happen is that it'll depend on what type of holding, right? As I said, if it's a private limited company, I think that will become as a financial or let's say a movable asset. Basically, it's a financial
Okay.
investment. If it is not and it is a sole proprietorship, then it's considered as good as a personal asset. So depending on
Understood.
what type of assets are there under that sole proprietorship, it will be given to the respective people as such.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And Suraj, one more question, similar lines.
Yes.
Suppose you have a life insurance policy that that automatically kicks in the event of death.
Yes.
So that one, a reference of that should be provided in this will, or not necessary, because you would have provided a nominee and beneficiary in that life LIC insurance, life insurance policy, right? So
Yes.
how do we handle that?
So we can put that under the movable assets, under the financial assets. Basically, you can put it under this section. So if you
And
see,
this one will override whatever we have put in the policy, because this trumps everything.
yes, so in policy you will just have a nominee, and nominee legally is not the owner of the asset as such. So let's say if you've, I mean, just I'll give you an example that if I've put a nominee as my son, and in my will I'm writing that the insurance policy should go to my wife, then it is the responsibility of my son to take the amount of the insurance policy and give it to my wife.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you recall last week what I shared the details, again including the digital assets, means going forward a lot of our assets will be digital assets as well. So we can mention, I've just given this format as a most simple thing as possible, but the same thing, let's say if we have to make a more detailed will, the same will can actually run into 15-20 pages as well, as to depends on how many details you want to give and how many different beneficiaries you have. Otherwise, a will can be a one-page document as well, saying that I so and so, a handwritten document, I so and so hereby give all my assets, which is property, financial assets, digital assets, to my spouse, witnessed by so and so. So I'm saying a will can be as short as 1 page. It can go run into 15 pages, 20 pages as well. So I've not tried to, you can say, put in as much of details over here, but depending on the individual's assets, the number of nominees, number of beneficiaries that they would have, the document can be as much in detail as possible. So there could be something which you're giving to spouse, to kids, to parents. It could be to a charity that you can say are keen about. It could be to various things as such. So for each of those, the length of the document will keep increasing based on what you have as such. The other thing is that will is right now the best way to, you can say, plan for any, you can say, eventualities. But what is being spoken in the government circles is that they want to bring back an estate tax. Estate tax is something wherein your beneficiary will have to pay a tax because they're getting assets from you. If and when that, you can say, thought of the government actually becomes a law, then we will have to completely change this whole process, and then the importance of a trust will come in, because a trust is another way to handle these things. So I'm not going to speak about that right now, but that is something which we may need to consider if the government moves forward in terms of taxing estate as such. Right now that is not there, so will is a great way to plan or do your estate planning. This is the point that I had mentioned. My future assets and our residuary assets. So future assets is that, let's say if you've made a will last year, but in the next few years you can say buy additional property, you make certain additional investments, could be deposits, it could be insurance policies, anything at all, how you would want to distribute it. So here you will just put the name of the beneficiary, the relation, and the percentage. If everything is to one person, then it's plain forward simple. Otherwise, you could actually do the split over here. As I've already mentioned, that the will can be changed as many number of times that you want to. So there is nothing, you should never not make a will because how do I distribute, what will I do for in the future and things like that. Make one will. You want to change it later, feel free to change it. The next time that you're making a will, it will be that much more simpler because you've already, you can say, done it once. The second time will be much more simpler. So don't worry about trying to be perfect and things like that. Something is better than nothing is what I would say. I
Hi,
know.
sir.
Yes.
I have a question.
Please tell me, sir.
Sir, I have provide from my father I received.
Yes.
He invested some L&T shares, and at those days it was paper mode and came to my account, my Demat account.
Yes.
And now it was mentioned in my father rebate to my daughter.
Yes.
So how do I transfer? Again, I should mention in my will, or will it go her directly from the probate of my father?
No, it's always better to mention it in your will, sir. Or the thing is that since it's a financial asset, if you want to transfer it today as well, there is no tax implications on you or on her, even if you would want to transfer it today as well. So I'm saying that is up to you. If you would want to transfer it now, you can transfer it now. There's no tax implications. If you would want to transfer it through the will, it's better to put it in the will that way.
Okay.
Because expecting her to, you can say, refer back to the probate of her grandfather, then you'll have to mention it somewhere that she should be aware that she has to do that activity. Because otherwise, now let's say if you've got 10 different shares in your Demat account, then you'll have to mention it in this way: L&T to her, Infosys to so and so. It'll have to go into that much of detail. Instead of that, either do it now because it is not going to have any tax implications on both of you, or mention it in the will as such.
Because she doesn't want to take now. I inquired with her.
Then
so
it
that's
can
why
be,
I'm holding.
Then it can be put
it's
as
continued.
part of the will. Yes, absolutely, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So
Suraj, what happens to the beneficiary also get into I mean, he or she is no more, then what happens to the will? I mean, both of them, the executor and the beneficiary, the testator and the beneficiary?
Sure. So that's why one recommendation for that is that have a waterfall mechanism of multiple beneficiaries, saying that if beneficiary 1 is not there, then the property would go to beneficiary 2 or beneficiary 3. So you can say a waterfall that way, saying if not beneficiary 1, then beneficiary 2, or if not beneficiary 2, then beneficiary 3. Otherwise, I'm saying if somebody has put just one beneficiary and that beneficiary is no more, then the law takes over in terms of as per law. What happens is that you've got the various succession beneficiaries, class 1 heirs as they call it. So for a Hindu individual, the beneficiary, let's say if it's a man, the class 1 heirs are his mother, his spouse, and his kids. If kids are not there, then the kids, the grandchildren. So these are the legal heirs if there is no beneficiary, or if there is no surviving beneficiary as per the will. Then there are class 2 heirs, there are class 3 heirs, means it's like a long list. As with any legal thing, there are multiple things which will go as per the law as such. Then basically what happens is that it is not going to go as per your wish, it will go as per the law. Law is different for Hindus, law is different for Muslims, law is different for Christians, that way. So you can mention multiple beneficiaries if there are people like that. Otherwise, it will be as per the class 1 heir, class 2 heir, class 3 heirs.
Hey, Suraj,
Namrata.
Flat number
302.
Hello, Suraj, can you hear me?
Yes.
Suraj, the beneficiary 1, 2, where do we mention that? Because in the assets table, what I thought we are doing is the multiple beneficiary names we provide, and along with that, the percentage, if there is a split, let's say 50-50.
Yes.
How do we mention the, in absence of beneficiary 1, that should go to beneficiary 2? Where, how does that, how do we mention that in that format?
So if you see over here, in case of above mentioned beneficiary predeceases me, then of that beneficiary will be payable to so and so. So I'm saying these can be the worded as per your requirement. That who will, so it can have as much of detail as required. Means that's why I said even earlier that this is a will to get you started, but it can go much more in detail as per requirement. So if somebody is not getting it done with a lawyer, but even with just plain English as well, you can mention it, saying if beneficiary is not there, then the alternate beneficiary will be so and so. If beneficiary 1 and 2 are not there, then it will be beneficiary 3.
Okay.
Then as per thing, it is class 1 legal heir. If class 1 legal heir not, so what happens is that these are things which we will mention. But if let's say somebody has prepared a will and these things are not mentioned in the will, that is when this class 1 beneficiary, class 2 beneficiaries will come in.
Sure, thank you.
So these are some of the, you can say, basic clause. Like I mentioned, here is a clause which would say, as long as I am alive, I shall be the absolute owner and enjoy the thing without any interference from the beneficiaries. The idea is that you're making a will only to transfer if something were to happen to you. It is not, you can say, given to a beneficiary and the beneficiary comes back and says, okay, give me this apartment, or give me this plot of land, or give me this mutual fund investment, or anything of that sort. It is purely, if the testator is no more, that's when the will come into effect as such. this is like the last part of the will, wherein you're putting in the details, you're putting in your signature, and then comes the witness. Here, when you're putting in the witness, just one point to note is that put in as many details of the witness as possible, in the sense that name, address, email ID, mobile number. Reason being that in a worst case scenario, if this will is challenged, you need to have a witness who will actually need to come to the court and tell that he was a witness or she was a witness to your will, and you did it out of free will. You were not forced by anybody to make a will. So that's why.
So Suraj, is it acceptable to video record the actual process of a witness signing it and include it? Thereby, there is no contention later on.
Yes, no restrictions at all on that aspect. You can say have that kind of record as such. But the thing is like this, that the way our courts function, that if there is a dispute, then the matter will get dragged on. So these things can help at that point in time. The more the details that are there, the witness coming in and strongly, you can say, accepting something like this will help in those kind of cases. I would say for 99.9% of people, we will not have this issue. But yes, it could be a possibility. So that's the reason to, you can say, put in all these checks and balances in place so that there is no issue that is there.
Thank you, sir.
So with this means, I think the will part I've completed. So any more questions that anybody would have, we can take that up, because the way I see it is whatever questions are coming up, it is benefiting everybody. So we can definitely, you can say, take up any more questions that would be there.
Suraj, the first point that you had mentioned in your presentation, that the will can be handwritten, and just these two witnesses are all that is needed. There's no need to get any kind of
registration
stamp
done.
or any
Yes. Yes. So
Thank you.
you can say a handwritten will is absolutely valid as per law, and there is no, means I gave you all these you can say terminologies which lawyers use and things like that, but if you've written it in plain simple words saying that I so and so hereby give all my assets to so and so, and it's been witnessed by two people, that also is a legally accepted document as such.
Okay.
The
Thank
reason
you.
for, thank you. The reason why people choose to register a will is that if they anticipate any kind of a family dispute at a later stage. So bigger the, you can say, property that you're going to be distributing, the more possible that there could be a dispute, right? So that is the reason why people take up all these kind of precautions to avoid dispute. So there can also be a clause which now people have been putting, that if any beneficiary of the will disputes this will, he or she will automatically be, you can say, they will not get any share of this will. That is one way of discouraging disputes. That if, let's say, a family member disputes saying that, no, I shouldn't have got 20%, but I should have got 50% and things like that, then putting in a clause like that discourages this kind of issue as such. Yeah. If the property is received from father and son makes a will naming beneficiaries, in that case, can grandson challenge the will? Yeah, good questions. Though a good question, though I don't know who is it, because it says read me to everyone. So the thing is that if it's an ancestral property that is come to you and thing, then it has to actually go to the class 1 heirs. So let's say if you've got a property from your father and you decide that that full property will go for a charity, for example, then there can be family members who will challenge that. You can will out only things which you have earned and you've earned from your own money. If you've got something from, you can say, parents, grandparents and things like that, then you will have to, you can say, or let's say your dependents, that is your children and spouse, have a natural share in that property as such, and there can be a dispute. Of course, if they don't have any reason to dispute and it goes to, you can say, the beneficiary as per your choice, that is absolutely fine. But yes, they can challenge the will if you don't include them as per your will as such.
Hello. Suraj, can a will be not fair? Like, for example, let's say you have a male child and a female child.
Yes.
Okay. Like, let's say you write all the property to only the male child.
Yes.
In India, that keeps happening all the time.
Yes.
So, can the female child later dispute the will? Can she say, I rightfully, I should have also got something, but this was a biased will, or it was not fair, something like that?
She can dispute, but then the question comes that whose property is that? If you've earned it fully, then the dispute, you can say, can be rejected in the court.
Okay.
But if it's an ancestral property, then yes, then the daughter can dispute. But if it's your own property that you've earned from your income, then you are free to will it to anybody at all.
Okay.
That way. Yeah. Any more questions?
Thank you, Suraj. This was very insightful.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sridhar.
Thank you, Suraj. Saturday morning well spent.
Great. Most welcome. I hope I've given you some inputs which you will take back, everybody, and start working on your will.
Thank you, Surajji. Please share the soft copy.
We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll
Thank you, sir.
share it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Suraj.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks, Suraj.
Thank you, Suraj.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suraj.
Suraj, one more question.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, can a will be disputed? Okay, other than the content of the will, can the will itself be disputed? Can somebody say the will itself is a fake document?
Yes, yes. So means normally the dispute can come only that way, right? That somebody will come and say that no, this was not a valid will. Somebody just forced so and so to sign the will and those kind of things. So definitely that dispute can happen. This was or this is a forged will. Various things can come up. That's where the witnesses come in saying that no, I have witnessed that this will was made on such and such a date.
Okay. If suppose the witnesses are also not alive, so then
it can, you can say, create a challenge in terms of the will being disputed.
Okay.
So,
can a registered will also be disputed?
It can be disputed, but then the probability of the court, you can say, accepting the dispute reduces, because if somebody has gone and got it registered, then where is the question of dispute? But then there are people who, you can say, dispute on the thing, saying that no, my father was held at gunpoint and he's got it registered, that's why he's not given it to me, and various kind of disputes for the sake of dispute keeps happening.
Okay.
So it's not that it cannot be disputed. Once you've made a legal will, it will not be disputed and things like that. That can also be, registered will can also be disputed. But because it's been registered, the person has gone to the registrar's office and got it done and things like that, the court will take into cognizance that, okay, the likelihood of manipulation is that much lower. And let's say if there is a will, just one more point. If there is a will wherein you've, you can say, given all your property to, let's say, 2 kids and spouse, then the question of dispute of any of the children coming and disputing, saying, no, I didn't get 25%, I had to get 40% and things like that. In that kind of a dispute, the dispute will be resolved much more quickly because they're not disputing the fact that you have not made the will. Then the question of dispute or the logic of the dispute will get rejected much more quickly. But if somebody comes and says that there is a will which is giving all the property away to, let's say, a distant relative, then the spouse and the kids can definitely have a valid reason for disputing that will.
Okay. Okay. So, and let's say my father or somebody has made a will,
Yes.
and is there a way for me to go and, like, let's say he's not there, my father or grandfather. Now I need to verify the will. So, what is the process? Or like,
So-
you go to the register office and
Yes, with the register office, but you'll need the document number and pay them, I think, a fee of 500 rupees, and they will be able to this thing, give you a copy of the will.
okay.
Yes.
So will it be given to anyone, or you have
Yes,
to prove
yes.
that you are
No. It can.
valid beneficiary of the will?
No. Anybody can get access to thing at the sub-registrar office because it's a public document once it's registered.
Okay.
Suraj, I had a question in terms of making the company a witness. Are there any? Can you give us examples of like which company can qualify to be a witness?
Company as a witness, is it? Company can be an executor, not a witness.
Okay.
Because a witness is an individual.
Right.
So companies, you can say have these people appointed as a executor as such, a professional company where they will do the execution part of it. They charge a percentage of the assets as a fee. But
Got it. These are specific will execution companies.
So there are, you can say, companies which will help you to make a will, to, you can say, keep the will in custody and act as executors. And most of the big banks have, you can say, a trusteeship division as such. So let's say an ICICI